Hi and welcome to School Shorts with me, Melissa Chan-Green, a journalist and mum of two with an interest in education. When this podcast started out a little under a year ago, it was very much a podcast about literacy, helping kids to read. That was what I kind of felt passionate about, what I was really interested in because of all of the changes that were happening from a professional perspective, but also because my children were entering school and I really wanted to help them from a personal perspective at home. It still is really my passion and my priority, but I soon realised that like any learning, enjoying school, feeling like you're a good learner is actually multifaceted and is tied up in a large part with reading success, but there are also many other factors in mental and physical health for children. And school is a large part of where we do our growing up. We spend so much time there, and teachers are managing so much more than academic achievement, whether you think that there are more behavioural changes and challenges, or whether you think we're just so much more aware of different needs now. So this episode is looking back on some of the insights we've had this year on physical and mental health and development. It's all interwoven. You can't actually separate the episodes on dyslexia, for example, on this topic. So much of that discussion is around self-worth and belief as well. But I'm looking here really at the episodes that are a little outside of the literacy realm. And one of those episodes that was really popular was with Jase Williams, a relational neuroscience educator and a former school principal. And he has spoken with many schools around New Zealand about his different take on behavioural issues, and that he says the way to address them is to first focus on adult self-awareness and regulation. So he believes that when adults remain calm and regulated, then children will naturally follow suit. And that doesn't mean, as he was explaining, talking to them and saying one thing and really meaning another, but actually not needing to talk to them in the moment and just managing your breath and just being with them as a calming presence, because children's emotional behaviour often mirrors the emotional state of adults around them. So he says understanding of our own triggers as parents and educators is crucial. And then once you're aware of that, then creating an environment where children feel safe to express themselves and learn effectively as a result.
Yeah, I'm not actually even interested in what the kids do.
Wow.
So my lens now is that the kids will do what kids do. And kids have done these things throughout time. Nothing's really changed. But it's how we either react or respond. And we can respond when, as the adults, we've dealt with our own story and we've understood our own triggers and we've done the work and been doing the work on ourselves, so the inner work. And we will always react if we haven't done those things, because children are really messengers and they will show us all the unprocessed, unhealed, unsettled parts of us. And we often don't like it.
That is so true. Since having children, I've reflected on that a lot. And I kind of feel like, people say, when you have kids, it really makes you look at yourself. And I thought that was just about, my parenting style. But I've realized your kids are kind of you in your most raw form, like without all the masking and all the things that you put on top to cope with the world. And so it is quite confronting when you see your children and you think, actually, that's how I was before I learnt.
You're looking in a mirror. Now looking in a mirror, right? We're seeing each other's reflection. It's the same reflection in lots of ways, because even as we both sit here today, we don't just sit here alone. We bring our ancestors with us. So things that have been unsettled, unprocessed for them live on in us. And we won't know what they are until we become triggered and dysregulated, and then it all comes up. And it's really, you can't address that in the moment. It's still tough to deal with and settle, but kids are great, not just kids at school, but your own kids. They will show you all the parts you need to deal with.
So that was Jase Williams speaking there. And one of the things that he also said on that episode, which caused a bit of discussion this year too, was his take on whether you should single out students for good work. Some did not agree with what he was saying, and others said it really made them think twice about times when perhaps as teachers they might have done this in the classroom and the impact that it could potentially have, and they were agreeing with Jase. So here's a little bit about that clip as well.
When we praise, you praise the journey, you praise the process. Even then, it can be problematic as well, depending on how we do it. Because I was thinking, if someone's doing a piece of artwork, doing a painting, and we talk about, we really love the colours you used. Let's say the colours were blue, green, and orange. Or maybe yellow's a dumb colour. I never use it again in my artist life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it can be problematic that way. But we should always praise the journey and the process, not the outcome, because then we set a bar, and then then the bar is about us.
Yeah.
It's not about the child's intrinsic motivation. It's become extrinsic.
Jase talks about the different strategies too that he has used as a parent and a principal, if you're interested in that, and some more practical advice. That is in episode 24. He talks about the relationship between a parent and an educator being really important in terms of communication. And I was keen to talk to parents about this, their own journey with education and with school. And I've spoken to a few. I'd love to speak to more in the year to come. So any parents out there that are keen to talk about their experience, please do get in touch. One of the parents I spoke to early on was the lovely Gemma McCaw. She is an impressive mum with all that she role models around health and well-being and fitness and nutrition. She does a lot of work with women in that area. And obviously her husband, Richie McCaw, is heavily involved in that area around health education as well. But what Gemma and I especially focused on is how much they make reading a part of their family life, their routine, and how they really prioritise it, not just for the benefits of language and all that brings, but for the benefit of connection and what Gemma describes as empathy for others as well. And she had some really thoughtful, considered insights that she attributes many of her values to the women in her life, like her mum and her late nana. And it was just a heartfelt chat with some really good advice, I thought, about how she tries to manage the challenge of devices as well. Here's Gemma McCaw.
For me, my nana, who we lost earlier this year, always said, walk a mile in someone's footsteps before you judge them. And, when I talk about reducing screen time and reading more and exercising and sleeping more, it's not coming from a place of judgment. It's coming from a place of care. And one thing, that I've used in sport and in life and in anything is it's really those small steps. You call them micro steps. So, if people want to reduce screen time, I say to them, just don't look at your phone for the first minute of your day, and you can increase that. Then that might get to 5 minutes, or just read your baby or your child one book. Don't go for the 5.
Yeah.
Because what we do, and this is the same in fitness, I see people go, right, I'm going to do the marathon. And I'm all about doing one thing every year that scares you and puts you out of your comfort zone like that. But actually it's about those really small steps. So one story, and it's the same with going to bed earlier, just 10 minutes earlier, or on one of the nights, just plug your phone in the other room and read for half an hour. So some of that is about choices, and I know a lot of people are struggling out there, so I'm not sitting on my high horse saying to do these things, but when we start to do some of these things, we do feel better. And I know for me, when you look at social media or do those things, you don't often feel any better. It's a beautiful place for connecting with people, but then you're living, in the real world. The more we can be present and actually give ourselves breaks off screens and multiple demands, the better we'll feel. But yeah, same with getting fit, just walk around the block to begin with. Don't try and go around Hagley Park twice because because
you won't do it again.
All or nothing approach. And I've really found that with, I've worked with a lot of women in terms of health and fitness plans and exercise prescription and all that. But I get them to do those small steps, and it's the same with reading. If you can't read a chapter, read one page.
Yeah.
If you can't read to your child 5 books, read one and just sit down. And I think that's the same with anything. Take those tiny steps and it does get easier.
Jackie Riak from Triple P Parenting in episode 22 also talks about the emotional well-being link in schools. Jackie is a clinical psychologist, and Triple P is a parenting program that's been backed by evidence and scientific research and used around the world in schools to support families and students who need it. The top 3 parenting challenges are reported in schools, what we spoke about in that episode. And they are bullying, and this can start from a really young age. Jackie says on that, open communication is key. So stopping and listening to your child and acknowledging what they're feeling as a first step to managing that. The other parenting challenge that comes up most often is around friendships and the skill of being a good friend, like actually talking about what it means to be a good friend, so that you can identify it in others and know when perhaps that friendship is not good for you, or when you are perhaps not being a good friend back as a child. It's a roller coaster of relationships at school, isn't it, with friends right throughout the years. So we talk a bit about that. And also self-esteem was the other one that is often reported as an issue in schools. And this, Jackie says, can be helped in a number of ways. One of the examples she gives is encouraging children to set small and achievable goals and praising the effort that it takes to get there rather than just the outcome. We also talk about chores at home because that's often something that can play into self-confidence and that feeling of independence as well.
Self-esteem ensures that children are happier, more cooperative if they have positive self-esteem. And a really important thing for school is kids with good self-esteem are more likely to take a risk. I don't mean jumping off the highest jungle gym, but I mean when you're reading a book and you've got to try that word and you're not sure what that word is, so you give it a go, or you try to write something and you don't really know how to spell it, but you give it a go. That's taking a risk.
Yeah.
And if I feel good about myself, I'm okay to take that risk. And if it wasn't quite right, I can handle that. So it's self-esteem is really important through through schooling, and it's linked to, higher achievement and, doing well in school.
So that's focused a bit on mental health and looking at physical health now. We've heard from Gill Connell of Moving Smart a few times on the podcast, and they have been really popular episodes. And we will talk to her more in the coming year. But one of the clips that was especially popular, which I wasn't particularly expecting, was the discussion around monkey bars. I had no idea people felt so passionately about them. That little clip from the episode has been shared by hundreds of thousands of people all around the world. And what people are saying is it seems playgrounds have taken these out. And yet there were hundreds of comments from people who were so nostalgic about monkey bars. And the reason we were talking about them is not just because of the fun element, but because of the impact it has on development of the body and how that has been a really important part of being able to learn, being able to physically develop your body as a child to be ready for learning. Here is a bit of what Gill said on that. It's from episode 28 on midlines.
The monkey bars are one of the most fantastic pieces of equipment that were ever invented, really. And it's sad that lots of people perceive these as unsafe and so have been taken out of playgrounds. You think about how much time you spent as a child on the monkey bars and the kinds of things that you used to do on the monkey bars. So I love for kids to be able to use the monkey bars in as many different ways as they possibly can. Firstly, because they are fantastic for developing upper body strength. And what we know about fine motor control is that big muscles develop before fine. And because kids aren't climbing trees as much as they used to be, they're not, using their upper body strength, we're finding that that's impacting on their fine motor control. But more important and more related to the midline, that wonderful movement where you swing one hand in front of the other hand, it's called brachiation, is just the most perfect midline movement you could ever wish to do. So,
Yeah.
and that's in the playgrounds. If you can find a playground that has monkey bars, that's one of the best things you can do. It's also great because it helps prepare the thumb. When you're on the monkey bars, your thumb goes underneath, and that's the cortical position. There are so many benefits to that, to using the monkey bars.
So that was Gill Connell there from Moving Smart. Another clip with Gill that went viral, not just the monkey bars, was one where she was talking about math, or maths, I should say, because the internet actually thought she said I was doing meth with the kids. The Kiwi accent for you. I can assure you she did not say she was doing meth with the kids, nor does she. But we were talking about maths in that episode, which was episode 8. Talking about it from the perspective of the power of PMP in early years education and how movement of the body allows children to have understanding of some of the language that is used in maths, but also right across the classroom and other topics too, like literacy. And she explained a little bit about what PMP actually is, because you might have heard your child talking about this, but how does it differ from PE or sport or what we did at school in our day? Here's Jill.
It stands for perceptual motor programming. And to put it simply, it's a program that's designed to help little people develop the physical foundations that they need for the classroom. So, for instance, many kids come into the classroom and they have immature pencil grips. Or they are having difficulty focusing and concentrating, or they haven't developed which hand they're going to write with. A PMP program, a perceptual motor program, gets right down at the developmental level, the physical developmental level, and helps children to develop those. And it's a very holistic program that covers all areas of motor coordination that are going to help little people in the classroom, even just things like, walking around the classroom without banging into somebody else or tripping over. So that's what it's for. And I think many, many teachers and probably parents are noticing that kids need it more than they ever have before. And there are lots of reasons for that.
So that was Jill about the explanation of what PMP is, but here is our chat about how movement impacts understanding of language, as I was mentioning earlier too.
Well, it's concepts like over, under, in front, behind, up, down, left, right, inside, outside, next to, all of those words that we use in education every day. In fact, in the classroom all the time, that we know kids understand and learn better when they've had a physical experience of these things, because in different contexts, these words mean different things.
Yeah. Can you think of an example to, illustrate how one word might mean different things at different times or in different situations?
Sure. Well, I'll get your audience to try this. I want everybody to touch the top of your head.
Unless you're driving, do it later.
Oh, yeah, do it later. Yeah. Touch the top of your head and now touch the top of your toe. Okay. How can top be here and top be down there at the same time? And then we say something to a child like, put your name at the top of the page. Where is top? And it totally depends on your physical experience, your unique physical experience, as to how you interpret that.
So I think that covers some of what we have spoken about this year or the past year on mental and physical health, but there have been big themes right throughout the episodes. Another theme that has come up quite often is on neurodiversity and learning needs. And one episode that I think is really valuable in terms of understanding the power of neurodivergence is with Barbara Oakley, who is an expert in the science of learning. She has actually made one of the most popular online courses in learning how to learn, basically teaching yourself to be better at remembering things, having good ideas, not procrastinating. Actually, her advice on beating procrastination is a really interesting one that I have been trying. It's called the Pomodoro technique. And here's Barbara explaining that.
When you even just think about something you don't like or don't want to do, so for me, that would be my taxes, you actually experience pain in the insular cortex. That's the area of the brain that experiences pain. So what do? Well, you don't want your brain experiencing pain, so you get your thoughts off of whatever you were thinking about. And, you're suddenly happier because you're maybe watching TikTok or something
instead
like
of your
that.
taxes.
But you've just procrastinated. So the best way to tackle it, I'm an engineer, I'm just like cut to the chase, is use the Pomodoro technique. And everything we know from neuroscience about focusing, the effectiveness of not multitasking, keeping on a task for a brief period of time. All of this is embedded within the Pomodoro technique, which is invented in the 1980s. And all you have to do is set aside all distractions. So no pop-ups on your computer, nothing on your cell phone, but good luck if you've got a 2-year-old at home. But then you set a timer for 25 minutes, focus as intently as you can, bring your thoughts back as they will inevitably wander. And then when you're done, this is the critical part, take 5 minutes and don't do anything. I mean, you can think about what did I just learn, but don't pick up that phone.
Okay, and just quickly, some other mentions if you're interested in more information around neurodiversity. There's a chat with Jenny Turner from Human Fabric about ADHD in both children and adults, about diagnosis, what it looks like in the classroom, what it looks like in the workplace, how we can be more supportive in both situations. That is worth a listen. That was just a recent one. Also a chat with Rhonda Filmer in Australia about 2E. 2E is where a person is both gifted and has another learning challenge. So that could be gifted with ADHD or gifted with dyslexia. And that was episode 35. And there is no way that I can talk about an episode on mental health and not mention one of the people who has made the biggest impact probably in terms of awareness in this country, and also now has a charity link to a wonderful team called Mighty that is doing work in schools to help awareness around mental health in those early years. That is Sir John Kerwin that I am talking about. I would encourage you to listen to that episode too, which is episode 15. So we have explored how mental health and physical health are related and perhaps you could say integral to classroom learning, from Jase Williams on adult emotional regulation and Gill Connell on movement, and lots of the other insights too on parenting from Jackie Riak, and neurodiversity with Barbara Oakley, Rhonda Filmer. It's quite clear that supporting our children in education is a real multifaceted thing, and there are people working in so many different areas that really feed into children's feeling of being a good learner. So if you know of any others, there are others that you feel that I should talk to, or you have been involved with OTs or any other kind of therapists that have really made an impact for you, please do get in touch, because I would love to hear about them and spread that work far and wide as well. Until then, thank you so much for listening. Take care, and appreciate your support of School Shorts. Thanks so much for tuning in today. If that topic was helpful for you and you'd like to hear more, please do like and subscribe. It sends me that feedback. School Shorts is all about supporting busy parents who want their children to thrive. Follow on social at School Shorts NZ for fun ideas, helpful resources, and exclusive giveaways.